Well, it's 5 o'clock. We'll get going. We've got a better attendance here than the last time we got together. So
It's true.
I will turn the reins over to you, Dr. Williams.
Did you want to do the minutes first?
Yeah, we can.
Wendy, would you put the agenda up there, please? And I don't think we have any old business. There we go. Thank you.
All right. Did anyone have any comments on the minutes from January 25th? I think that was just me and Dr. Williams. So I don't have any problems with those minutes.
No, they're good.
All right. I don't believe we have any old business except for the policies that are going to be on the agenda this evening for
Yeah,
for
that's
final,
right.
this final approval this evening, I think. So
Right. And I should make one notation about one of those policies does have a very minor change over this past week. We just changed the person responsible from the Director of Human Resources to the Assistant to the Superintendent for Operations, simply because tonight on the agenda we'll be asking you to eliminate the Human Resources Director position. So that's the only change that we've made to any of those policies that are on tonight's board agenda. So that is appropriate under old business. If you like, I can move into new business and I'll share out my screen. First policy tonight is policy 137.1, extracurricular participation from home education students. This is a very minor change related to, for some reason, there must have been something in the law about junior ROTC programs statewide. We don't have any right now, but someday we may. So we just modified this language as per PSBA's recommendation. The only other change in this policy is changing she, he to the student. Both of those changes you can see right on the screen there. Any question about those?
I'm good with those.
Okay. Next policy is 217. Most of these policies have very few changes. Some have more, but most have very few. This is graduation requirements. This policy was done in conjunction, collaboration with Dr. Ellis. It was last revised in 2017, and that's why there's specific language related to the class of 2018 and the class of 2019. Those things are no longer relevant, so they've been stricken from the policy. And the green part has been added. So I'll give you a moment to take a look at that. So these changes are related to changes in the law that we're just catching up with, and also some changes in the way graduation requirements are being administered here through the prior processes we've had via the Academic Standards Committee.
All right. Any questions or comments on those?
Okay.
Yeah, just a quick question. So it's 6 credits for 3 years and 5. Am I doing the math right there? 5 for 1 year?
Let me get back there.
Okay.
right. Where are we referring to?
Down below, the 23 credits.
Oh, you mean between 2022 and 2023?
23 and beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got the 23 credits. So in the normal school year, is that 6 credit? Is a student typically taking 6 credits?
Very often, or it could be 7. I mean, they can really go hard at it and get multiple credits in a year. And they can also do other things too and take a college course. There are ways to really front load your credits.
Okay, so, and this might not be a question for this, but I guess maybe we can talk offline. I'm just trying to understand the flow of the credits for somebody coming through. And again, it's if they take 7 freshman, sophomore, junior year, then theoretically they only need 2 credits to graduate coming into their senior year, right?
Yeah, if they take 7.
Right. You might have those kids that are go-getters. I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of times, though, the students typically will end up with 6 credits in a year, that kind of a thing. So it's anywhere from 6 to 7 credits in a year will get them around 23. Most kids can fulfill this requirement prior to the end of their senior year. There is the ability to do that, and there are people who do that. They will front load and try to get it done so they can get out earlier. It does happen. But
can they get out earlier than 18 if
yeah, typically what they end up doing though is they'll take a semester at a college or something like that, or start taking a lot of college classes that count towards their high school graduation requirements.
okay.
Or add to they'll go beyond their minimum requirements. That's what a lot of kids do.
Yeah.
We don't have too many that graduate early and move on to college right away.
No
But
Doogie Howsers.
They could do it if they were so motivated. And every once in a while, there is a kid that's that motivated.
Yeah.
To become a Doogie.
But on the other side, it does give you the ability to catch up as well.
Yeah. A student might have a bad semester or a bad year. This way, it's not a death sentence.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Okay.
So is the typical fact pattern for that second bullet that a student takes the course, gets a basic on the Keystone exam, and then has to take the remedial course and pass it in order to get around the requirement?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And it's a mechanism that we have as a fail-safe to get a kid through, because we don't want any student to not graduate because they were not able to be proficient or advanced on the Keystone, and we give them plenty of opportunities to make up for that. Our success rate on the Keystones is really quite astronomical. So we don't have a lot of students that fall into that category. The high school does a really nice job with the Keystone courses and making sure kids are successful on the test the first time around. And there are mechanisms in place to help students achieve that goal if they do not become proficient on the Keystone exam. Because the other thing that's different about the Keystone exams and the PSSAs is that students can take the Keystone exams again. It's not a once and done. They do not pass. They're not proficient or advanced. They have to take them again. They have to try again. And then we have remediation courses to help them be successful in that second time around. So there's a lot of opportunities to be successful with that. And most of them are successful from the traditional course.
And in a remedial course isn't a special course that has to be cooked up just for that child, or is it?
It's already built.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and there's not a lot of students that take it. I don't think Dr. Ellis is with us tonight. Or he could probably talk more intelligently about that than I could. The number of kids who take that course and that kind of a thing. But the percentage is pretty small. Okay, anything else on 217? Okay. 335. Family medical leaves. You would think that this would have a lot of changes in it because of the pandemic, but it really doesn't. Just naming the person responsible, making that different, and a couple of other language things here and there.
Okay, any questions on that one? All right,
Okay. 707, use of facilities. Again, not a lot of changes here. This part changed a little bit. Application evaluation. This is recommended language from PSBA, which is kind of what we've been doing anyway. Now it's just formalized in policy. And there's also some language in there to help us, to help protect us about pandemic kinds of related things. You know, references the health and safety plan, that kind of thing. There's also, you might recall last time around, we did some policy changes for tobacco related products. So there is some changes to this. For example, in number 1 there, illegal drugs and or alcoholic beverages was stricken and just says controlled substances, just to make it a catch-all. And again, because of the recent changes in tobacco and vaping policy, PSBA is recommending these changes here. You can see the red part that was stricken and the green part that was added. And with medical marijuana being at the forefront in the state, basically number 5 there talks about it in some way. And it can be used as long as it's not inhaled. So the policy is not allowing any kind of inhaling of anything, which just makes it easier to enforce.
all right.
Okay.
So number 8, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is just triggering a thought here. Is that on school grounds or is that school employees? I only think about it because you've read the articles about it's tournament time and people have their little fill-in brackets, right?
Yeah.
And look, I won't say that I engaged in it in high school, but I certainly did. And it was run by kids there. And teachers were involved, but I won't name names. And it was 30 years ago. Is that the type of thing that this policy covers?
This policy is more for people who want to use our facilities that aren't part of the school system.
Okay.
For outside groups. That's what it's mostly for. Any illegal activity is prohibited in school already. So you broke the law back then. So did some of the teachers. I'm glad you don't break the law now.
Of course not. I didn't know of the law. Does that count?
Ignorance? No, ignorance isn't a protection. You might want to consult a lawyer on that.
But in all reality, though, there are organizations that do like 50-50 games of chance for fundraising, that type of thing. So are they can still do that, just not on premises, right?
Certainly they can do it off premises.
Right.
Yeah. We have no control of what they do off premises. The board, and number 8 there, the board of administration could allow an organization to do something that's permissible by law that's related to small games of chance. I'm not sure we'd want to go down that path. I would have a hard time approving that.
So in the past, when say the CTC has had a ticket drawing for baskets at the variety show, did they seek board approval for that?
No, but is that an activity that would be under the Local Option Small Games of Chance Act?
I have no idea.
I don't think that it is.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah,
Is it?
I would think that it would be. I mean,
From
there,
my church experience, and again, you have to just have the license, and as long as you get the permit, the superintendent or board would have to approve it.
No, we wouldn't have to approve it.
No,
but yeah,
would have to approve it in order for it to legally take place in the district.
There you go. So I didn't realize that fell under the Small Games of Chance Act. So we'd have to.
I don't know what kind of magnitude you need to get to there, but you know, the CTC used to have, there was a lot of tickets sold. They weren't sold on school grounds, but the drawing occurred during the show.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's a situation that would have to be, it would have to be brought up for approval. We're not denying, we're not saying we can't do it. It's
Right.
just, it needs to be approved if we're going to do it.
Right.
I tend to think that if something were even mentioned this evening, you know, the folks at the CTC and the building principals or whoever else, because I think there's a similar drawing for Fall Fest that used to happen over at Indian Rock. That, you know, if people know that it's required, they'll do it. I just think folks haven't been up to scratch on the fact that it's required.
Yeah, I guess it just never dawned on me that fell under this act, but I guess it does. So, yeah, and I think you're right. I think they will comply with the law. Never got the impression they wouldn't, but all right. Well, number 8's been in policy, so maybe we have not been as good about administering that policy as we should have been.
I would certainly be open to the administration considering permitting such activities or bringing it to the board regarding what's being talked about.
Yeah.
Because certainly it's been a very positive activity for these organizations.
Okay.
All right. Any
Anything
other
else?
questions on this one?
Okay. 803, school calendar. There's a couple of changes in here, mostly related to emergencies like a pandemic. Mostly to comply with, to make it easier to comply with the emergency authorization that we saw from the PDE and received. And you're probably wondering why the 4 years is there. That's because that's what's in the school code from 1949. An emergency can last 4 years. Hopefully no emergency ever does. But you got to remember that law was written when the pandemic of 1918 was in the forefront of people's minds.
From 1949?
Yeah.
I was thinking more World War II.
Well, maybe that was the impetus. But certainly lawmakers who were in office in 1949 were probably school kids during the pandemic of 1918.
Yeah.
But it could be World War II.
All right, any questions on this one? Okay, move on
All
to the
right.
next one.
Okay. Um, I can't, it's stupid. There we go. The Zoom thing was in my way. I couldn't get at the tab. All right, 800, food services, 808, I mean. Person responsible changes there. And some stuff down here. This is related to non-payment of meals. This is to comply with recent changes in the law.
Was that like changed very recently? Because didn't we have this discussion a few years back where,
Yeah, I think it was changed about 2 years ago.
was it?
I think so. And we've been following the law, but this is policy just to comply with those changes.
So we are allowed to give them an alternative meal then? They can't just continue to run up the balance?
Yeah, not right away though.
Yeah.
I think it's a $50 threshold.
And a negative $50 balance would require a couple of weeks of meals, wouldn't it?
Yeah, $50 will get you pretty far, unless you're buying a lot of a la carte items. But as far as the regular meal is concerned, you can get quite a few of them in.
Right. So you're not getting the, the scarlet letter cheese sandwich, the day your account balance goes to zero.
Correct. Yeah, $50 balance is that's fairly generous as a negative balance. So that's all the changes in that one. Any questions about that? Okay. 810.1. There's some lengthy changes in here. This policy was adopted in 2015 and never modified. These changes are recommended by PSBA, and they're changes that we follow anyway in practice with our contractor.
Tim, the assistant to superintendent for operations, that's a new role?
That's Kathy's title.
Oh, that's her title now. Okay.
That's her title, yeah.
I must have missed that. Sorry.
That's all right. No problem.
And this language, Tim, is all, this was all recommended from PSBA.
Yeah, we didn't modify any of this.
Okay. I was just looking back at the old policy, which is not even a page long.
Right. There's hardly anything in the old policy.
Yeah. And for a topic that like this,
Right.
a lot of room for interpretation. So
Yeah, this clears it up pretty well.
yeah, you're not going to find a loophole in here. Well, you're going to have to work really hard to find any loopholes in
Yeah, yeah.
if they're there.
And I couldn't conceive of any.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty comprehensive.
Okay.
Here's a section on controlled substances and prohibited conduct. All right. Any questions about those changes? It's a lot there, but it's pretty routine stuff. Okay. Now remember, this is we're asking for recommendation out of committee to be on the April agendas for first read. So there'll be plenty of other times to revisit these policy changes. And the last one on the list is 907, school visitors. Again, this is related to pandemic, just clearing up some things related to the health and safety plan and abiding to it. And that's it for that policy. Any question on those changes? Okay. And I'll stop sharing my screen at this point in time. And Wendy, if we could have the agenda up again, please. And turn it back to you, Mr. Toman.
All right. I guess, Vince, if we have any public comment that has anything to do with this meeting, I'll leave it to your judgment on that. But I assume we'll see those, the bulk of that tonight.
Well, we actually broke it out to make it very clean,
Oh.
and now they have to specifically define what meeting it's for. I do have 2 public comments. I don't know if Wendy has them up, but I have them here for this particular meeting. Do you have this meeting's Wednesday? Wendy, do you have this meeting's comments? And these are they.
And I think both of those are not applicable to our committee.
No, but I think since we since they're required to designate which meeting they want them for, I think we may be obligated to look at these tonight, even though I think their intention was for the regular board meeting.
They did specifically designate that it was for the policy committee. We now have a separate form for committee meetings, and you need to specify which committee meeting your comment is for, and then a separate one for the regular board meeting.
So we should include these 2 comments in the policy committee meeting today.
Okay.
Are you ready to go back to the agenda?
Is that the end of comment 2, where it says we're almost there?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. We're good.
Yeah.
Mr. Toman, the only other thing I might mention here is number 6. Next meeting is scheduled for May 24th. We may end up shifting that to the 25th because the 24th is a graduation. We don't know what that's like yet, how that's going to be implemented. So we also have a board meeting that night that we may end up moving as well.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give everybody heads up about that.
All right. And I would say we can move it in conjunction with whatever we decide for the main board meeting,
Okay,
if we choose to move that.
very good.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order here, people? We'll consider this adjourned then, and we'll see y'all at 6:40.
Okay, thank you, Michael.